What's up, everybody? So we're back on the shop with another Shop Talk Tuesday, and in this episode we're going to be working on this knife right here. Now, I forged this one in last Saturday's live stream. I do a live stream every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time where I forge something out. Now this one's a little bit different. This is a full integral knife, so meaning that the handle and everything is already done. It was forged into the actual blade. You can see where it transitions from the ricasso up to the handle on both sides right there. Got our blade done. Our bevels are already forged in. Our distal taper through the tip is already forged in. Everything's nice and smooth. We did that with a ball peen hammer. And everything is ready to go. What we need to work on in this episode is getting this lanyard hole drilled, then go ahead, getting the heat treat process done, getting bevels ground in, which we really won't have to do much work on, and then go ahead and get this blade finished up and cut some stuff with it. Now, this is a 5160 piece. This was actually forged out of this, which was forged out of a coil spring. So I forged it flat, or straight, I guess you could say, and then we turned that into this. So pretty cool process. Make sure you go check out the live stream. I think we had like 13,000 views on that live stream, so it was a pretty big live stream for people to go and watch. We forged this. I show you every single process that I did during the actual forging of this, so go check it out. But without further ado, let's jump into this video. Let's get this thing knocked out. So for the heat treat process on this 5160, we're going to bring it up to 1600 degrees and let it cool outside the forge. That is going to be our normalizing cycle. And then we're going to do 2 grain refinement cycles where we actually bring it up to 1500 degrees and let it cool outside the forge. And then we bring it up to just under 1400 degrees, let it cool outside the forge again. And then during the quenching process, we're bringing it up to 1525 degrees and then quenching it. The whole point behind the 1525 degrees is because by the time it gets from the forge to the quenchant, it's going to be right at about 1500 degrees. And that's where we want it to be to quench in our 120 degree peanut oil. So what we're looking for whenever we're testing it with the file is a higher pitch noise like this. Whenever you first start doing it, you might hear a duller noise. That is the decarb that you're trying to file through. Once you get through that layer, it'll sing at a higher pitch like that right there. Then if you have hardness files, you can go ahead and test it with something like a 65 HRC file right there. Go across it. And if we state that, that means we are harder than 65 HRC. Now with that, I want to bring it down to about 61, 62. So I'm going to temper this at 350 degrees for 2 hours and see what that gets it down to. If I'm still able to scratch it with a 65 but a 60 skates, that's what we're looking for roughly. So if we're at that, I'll leave it. I'll do another round of 350 degrees for 2 hours. If it's still skating a 65 HRC file, I'll then go through and do another tempering round at like 375 degrees and bring that hardness down just a little bit more. But that's good right there. Let's go ahead, throw this in the oven and get it tempering. So I went ahead and just ground to the center cutting edge as opposed to scribing it and then trying to mark something, because this is forged. If I was to go through and scribe something down the center, it would have a slight wave to it based on what profile is on the flats would be the forging process. So I went ahead and did it by eye, just going at a steep angle on the belt so that I had a nice straight line because of the platen. And we were able to get a center edge. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to bring this bevel that we ground in right here at a steeper angle up to the height that we want. And all I did, because this is going to be freehand ground, is I just marked where the plunge line is going to be on there on both sides to where it's nice and even. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the scratch lines to be able to mirror this to the other side, making sure all those lines are still parallel to the belt. So I'm using a 120 grit belt on this. This is a brand new 120 grit belt. It'll actually do this pretty quick because of how thin we were able to forge this. So let's go ahead and get it. So now that we have that 120 grit finish on both sides, we're going to just go ahead and jump up to a Scotch-Brite belt so that we can do our maker's mark on it. But that'll be the only two belts that we finish with this, is just that 120 grit and then Scotch-Brite. We'll see how that looks. So now that we have the maker's mark on here, we can go ahead, go into the acid. This is going to be in here for about 4 minutes. I'm going to take it out, clean it with some steel wool, and then it's going to go back in for about another 5 minutes. Take it out, clean it again, and then we're going to go ahead and put it in our stone washing little container and stone wash it. So this is kind of interesting. This is what it looks like after a total of about 25-30 minutes of etching off and on. It didn't really darken like at all. And it's kind of interesting, you see the different, so here's where the bevels are, then there's a layer and then another layer. So that's got to be decarb and stuff like that going on there. But I'm interested to see how this is going to hold up. I'm going to do some chopping tests and things like that with it, but I feel like that there is some chromium in this or something, because it resisted the etching like quite a bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and stone wash it. I already kind of coated the handle a little bit, but I'm going to stone wash this, and it's probably not going to do much to it, but we're going to try this out. Got to cover the end here because the knife is just as big as the actual container. So the stone washing didn't really do anything to this. I'm going to be really interested. I mean, it did a little bit, but hardly anything. And I'm going to be very interested to see how this actually handles being used and abused, because I feel like this thing is going to be super tough. I could be wrong, but I'm going to put an edge on it, put a little lanyard on it. We're going to try this out. Paper towel tube. I'd say it can definitely do that. Do that. Let's throw a lanyard on it, and then we'll cut through some wood. So typically whenever I do a paracord lanyard on the channel, I do a short one so that you can actually hook it on a hook or something like that. But this has 3 snake knots, a length of paracord, a snake knot, a bead, a snake knot, and then of course a little end that I do that just seals it off. The whole point behind this is you put your hand up through it from the bottom, and when you're holding on to this, it's not going to fling out of your hand. And if I'm doing yard work, I can do a little bit of yard work, I can let it go, move something, and then I can just grab it, continue do what I'm doing, grab it, continue do what I'm doing. So I typically put them on my stuff that I use around the yard. Now we're just going to do a little bit of chopping. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way through this 2x4, but I just want to do a little bit of chopping and then shave with it and see how it does. We're going to be chopping with all different parts of the blade, tip, heel, everything. Everything still looks good. Might help if I actually have a piece of arm that has hair on it. So I'm going to take this off. We're going to go at the other arm. Hair and sweat all the way down it. So even with all of that, it's still, well, sliced through receipt paper like butter. I think that this is really cool, and I'm really happy with the edge retention on it. Of course, this is my first time using this steel. I treated it like all of my other 5160 that I work with, did all the same process on it, and I think it worked out real well. So we of course have just a nice simple drop point kind of camp knife profile with that I-beam handle. It's all forged and everything on it. We got the forged texture all the way down the spine to the tip, all the way through here to the heel, and then of course up in the top in the bolster area. Everything is nice and straight and even, so I really like how that all turned out. Now of course, one of my favorite parts about this is it's just comfortable. So the handle, because of the way this is profiled, your fingers kind of just sit inside this, and it's just a comfortable knife to hold, and the balance on it is right at that ricasso. So it is like perfect, just right in front of the handle, right there, and it's just super comfortable. And then of course we have the lanyard on it, which again, y'all don't typically see me do lanyards like this. I do them for my own builds, but not really ones that I send out into the world, just because I do them for a reason. And some people want the lanyard but don't want it to be like this. If people do want that on their builds in the future, they can always just ask me to do one of these versus my normal one. Now we have that, and the cool thing about it, great edge retention, really good corrosion resistance. The fact that it was able to hold up to that acid and it barely phased the steel is absolutely awesome. Plus, being able to not just chop, but go in and really drill that tip into the wood and pop the wood out and not affect this thin tip at all. So, I mean, that is a very fine tip on there. And I was able to drill into it 1/2 inch and just get after it, and it didn't affect it at all. So absolutely awesome, super happy with it. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. I do like the forge scale fading in right there. I think that's a pretty cool little look to it that I didn't do on purpose, it just kind of happened. And then I think the profile looks good, but y'all let me know, what do y'all think about this whole entire thing? What do y'all think about the edge retention? Guys, always tell me in the comment section what you think, because that helps me move forward and do cooler things. Now, that's the end of this one. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see y'all on Saturday. Now, this Saturday, we're not going to be doing a forging live stream here in the shop. We're going to be at a Renaissance Fair in Michigan, and we're going to do a little live streaming while we're there. So be on the lookout for that. I'll let you know what time we're actually going to do it, so we'll see how it goes. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time. See y'all.